How does radio advertising even work? Good question. A lot of people just hear an ad and figure they get customers. Well, there's a little bit more to it than that when it comes to picking radio advertising. We're going to go over the advertising side and the business side of it in this video. So let's get started. Now, by the end of this video, you're going to see the big differences in radio. There are two main facets to it, the advertising side and the business side. And when we're done with this, you'll be able to see how to leverage them both to be most effective for your company. So for the advertising side of radio, how do you make it the most effective for your company? Well, first of all, realize up front, radio is a mass medium. The best way to utilize it is for your B2C businesses. If you've got something that's brick and mortar, if you've got something that the average Joe is going to want, that somebody walking down the street might come into your store and purchase, even though your store may be a website, maybe it's a brick and mortar location, maybe it's something that they just call in and order, whatever the case may be, if this is something that's going to appeal to the mass audience, radio is a really good place to start. Now, a B2B situation, not so much. If you're selling, I don't know, ink and toner or maybe even photocopier maintenance schedules, that's more of a B2B thing. I would not recommend radio for that type of a campaign. Now, if you are the ink and toner and photocopier repair company, maybe you want to use radio in your next hiring campaign. Maybe you're going to a job fair and you want to make sure that people stop by your booth to see you because you've got several openings. That would be a really good use for a B2B business. So now that you're using it properly, how do we build momentum with radio? Radio works off of repetition, getting your message heard over and over and over again until it permeates the subconscious of the listener. One of the greatest examples I can give you is, say this after me, I'm gonna give you a sentence, you say what's next. Ready? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Now that's an old one. That's an oh, what a relief it is. That's an Alka-Seltzer campaign from years and years and years ago. If you're younger than 40, you might not get that one. How about this? You probably get this one regardless of what age you are. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Exactly. McDonald's. Those type of things permeate your psyche and your conscious because you've heard it over and over and over again. And no matter what happens, it's now with you. That's top of mind awareness, and radio is fantastic for something like that. Now you can do that two ways. You can either scatter your message throughout the week. Let's say you get you're looking for a particular campaign, you buy 36 ads that get sprinkled throughout the day parts, Monday through Friday, 6A to 7P. Just wherever there's an opening, go ahead and drop one of my ads. Fine, that's a great way to do it. That will eventually lead to that same momentum and recognition. Another way you can do it that's a little more targeted if you have a smaller budget, why don't you lock in, say, the 720 news report or the 720 traffic report, and maybe do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You've got those three, and it doesn't have to be 720 every day, but we are creatures of habit. And especially when it comes to our morning routines, we're creatures of habit, plus or minus 1 or 2 minutes. So chances are I'm going to be in the car doing the exact same thing at 7:20, 7:21, 7:19 every single day. And when I hear your ad say at 7:20, 7:20, 7:20, now it's going to feel like, wow, this company is all over the airwaves. You're not. You only have 3 ads a week, but yet you're still having that same impact. So balance that out. Figure out how you want to use that the best to your advantage because it can take you a long way. One of the other key aspects to writing a radio ad is using emotion in the ad, not logic. Emotion versus logic. And this is more of an overall thing, not just a radio thing. But in whatever advertising you're doing, you want to address the wants and needs of your clients and customers. Then give them the logic afterwards to kind of like give them permission to buy or to justify their purchase afterwards. For example, I think I mentioned this in a previous video that I bought a car one time because it looked darn good in my driveway. Hands down, period, end of story. And then when I bought the car, I told all of my friends, I got a great deal on it. They dropped $2,500 off the price. The interest rates was probably the lowest I could possibly get. I justified it logically after the sale, but I bought it because I thought it looked so good in my driveway. Guilty. What can I say? I fell for my own advertising. That's the way you want to approach this. And when you make that emotional connection with your listeners, it's going to take you so much further. And one of the most beautiful elements of radio advertising is what we like to call theater of the mind. This is when you let the listener fill in the gaps and create what they want to see based on what you're telling them. And it's very cost effective as well. For example, let's say in a TV commercial, you were going to do 1,000 dancing camels for whatever reason. So you're going to there are a couple different ways you could do this. You could like film one camel and then like CGI it over and over and over again. Okay. Well, you're going to need the camel, you're going to need the wrangler, the camel handler, whatever they are. A film crew, all that kind of stuff, a location, drive out there, get it filmed, blah, 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 maybe a green screen it, all this kind of stuff. And then you've got all these computer geniuses that are going to CGI that camel over and over and over again, right? Okay, no problem. Now, for a radio ad, if you wanted to do, say, 1,000 dancing camels, I just did it. As soon as I say it, you pictured it. Now, are they doing a kick line like the Rockettes, or are they doing breakdancing, or are they doing ballroom dancing? You filled that in, and that makes it more of your ad than it does mine. You interpret it a certain way, and it's perfectly right. It's 100% correct that you pictured whatever it is you pictured. That brings you closer to the product or service because of that theater of the mind when it comes to selling cars. I can talk about this great truck, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. I'm sitting here thinking of a blue truck because that's my favorite color, but you're thinking of a red truck, that's your favorite color. Sold. We both just bought a blue truck and a red truck. No problems. That's what theater of the mind is, and you can leverage that in all of your ads in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you can tell, but radio is obviously one of my favorite sandboxes to play in, and we cover this quite a bit here on the channel. If you want to do some advertising with YouTube, creating a YouTube channel for your company, or maybe even a podcast for your company, we do all of that here. And if you want to like and subscribe, you're going to get stuff that's going to take you into the stratosphere. So be sure to keep listening and pick up all the tips that you possibly can, or give us a call. We'll be glad to help you with it. Now, on the business side of it, there's a lot that you need to think of when it comes to your budgets and how much it's going to cost. Remember, on a radio station in New York City, it's going to cost a lot more than, say, Columbia, Missouri. Why is that? Because they are reaching hundreds of thousands, if not millions more ears in any given moment in New York than Columbia, Missouri. Hands down. And that's the game. You're talking about, just like TV, you have a hit TV show and you've got millions of people watching. Those are millions of eyes that advertisers want to get their products and services in front of those eyes. Same thing with radio. You've got the #1 show on the morning show. There are advertisers that want to get their message into those ears of the people listening to the morning show. It works the exact same way. The more popular the show is, the more people that are listening. The more people that are listening, the price tends to go up. That's how it works. So know that that's what you're stepping into, and you'll be able to find some in and outs and have it work for you. And of course, when you're talking about markets, whether it's New York or Columbia, let's just focus on one. Whatever market you're in, the #1 radio station in your market is going to command a higher price than the #20 radio station in your market. We're talking, what's the difference? In thousands? In hundreds? In hundreds of thousands? I mean, the difference is how many ears are listening at any given time. That's what you're paying for. So not only is the market going to command, for example, New York, you're probably going to pay $500 for an ad. Columbia, you may pay $100 for an ad, maybe $75 for an ad. Then you're talking about the #1 station in Columbia versus the #20 station, et cetera, et cetera. All of that adds up to end up giving you the price that they're charging in your market. You can also break that down by day parts. Morning Drive has more listeners. Now, Morning Drive is like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And again, we are creatures of habit. We're probably going to be on the road, maybe even at that particular light at the exact same time every single day, Monday through Friday, as we're heading into work. Now, that being said, Morning Drive is probably going to cost you more as an advertiser than, say, if you decided to run some commercials from 7 p.m. until midnight. There are a lot fewer people listening 7 to midnight than in that locked-in time first thing in the morning as they're going to work. Same thing for overnights. Midnight to the morning show, midnight to 6 a.m., That's mainly second and third shift operators, people who are staying up late at night. Those are the folks listening. Those are very few. The vast majority of the population in your area is probably a 6 a.m. to midnight type of lifestyle. We are creatures of habit, and if your company leverages that, it'll end up being to your advantage. So to that end, here's a little something that kind of dives into it a little bit deeper on some of these elements. I've got a free guide on how to write your next radio commercial. There's a whole bunch to it that we didn't even touch on in this particular episode. But when it comes to writing a radio ad, there's a lot to it that will help you with your next ad. There's a link in the description down below. Click on that link and get your free copy of the Ultimate Radio Guide. Go ahead and get yours right now. I'm Nic Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.